I have booted up my Audacity. I'm hitting record. Hi, Audacity. I hope you're having a good day.
Sync.
I'm gonna turn on mine.
Did you just say sync?
I turned on
Yeah,
my
sync.
Audacity right now. Sorry, Doc.
That's cool. It's cool. Wait. Does anyone have a wait? Casca, were you gonna record the entire conversation
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
YouTube video?
Yeah, it's gonna be the unedited raw version, and yours is gonna be the prettied version.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll just sync the audio up to that file.
Yeah. Well, I have both Audacity and it going at the same time. It's not a big deal.
Okay. Cool.
All right, I'm gonna do a little clap for syncing. 1, 2, 3. That's my sync.
I just did a clap as well, but it's so unsynced in Discord. So.
Alrighty, so I guess I'm gonna do. Wait, do you guys want to give your real names? Like, do you want to be like when I'm like, well, I'm Jordan Kelby, and joining me today is da da and da da da.
Well,
Like,
I
how do
have
you...
on our little screen, I have the Librarius presented by Knockout, Jordan Kelby, and Cascaboo.
Yeah, and I don't
Okay.
think there would be a way for you to present my name without sort of butchering it, so it's okay. You can go with Knock.
Also, because I
You can
work
try. I'm okay
Yeah.
with it.
I thought your name was Sven. No, I'm kidding.
Jörgen.
your name is just the Swedish chef.
This Hurgabug. Yeah, I'm Lehman Russ.
Oh boy.
Oh,
So you
God,
can't talk very well? Congratulations.
I'm Brynjolf, that one fucking dreadnought that's been around for way too long.
I'm what's his name? Is it Bjorn the Fell-Handed?
Yeah, Bjorn the Fell-Handed. That's the...
Yeah, I love how you guys say Bjorn. Bjorn.
How do you say it?
Bjorn.
Bjorn?
Bjorn.
Yeah, I say Bjorn. Oh my God, that's so different.
Bjorn.
Yeah, their R is
It's
your
southern.
R is so much more muted than ours.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Bjorn.
Bjorn.
But
Oh.
either way, we should just get to it. I'm rambling.
Oh yeah, we're all rambling. All right, ready? We're gonna y'all ready for this?
The actual official start.
Oh fuck, I did a clap with my actual hands. Hang on. All right. All right, actual official start. Ready? Go. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Librarius podcast. Today we bring you our first episode discussing Horus and the general universe of Warhammer 40K. Casca, would you like to give us our intro?
Yes. So Librarius is going to talk about the various factions, various Primarchs, of the 40K universe. We're going to start by telling you the 40K universe begins in the year 30,000. This is where the story takes place. The game takes place in 40K, but we're going to start a little earlier with the foundation of the Empire, basically after what was known as the Age of Strife, when mankind ventured out to the stars, became fragmented, and basically began to die off on all planets that weren't Terra. A singular godlike being known as the Emperor banded together all of Terra, or Earth, into a single atheistic empire under his rule. And then he proceeded to make a bunch of people to spread his message throughout the stars and reunite humanity for the safety of humanity.
Yeah,
and tell us his main weapon he used, Jordan.
Thank you. Yeah,
Over to
he used
Jordan.
he used the Astartes, which were he used the Astartes, which make Master Chief look like a bitch. No,
They
they're,
do. They really do.
They really do. But they're genetically altered humans. They're more described as the next evolutionary state of humans, consisting of multiple new organs and multiple old organs, such as 2 hearts and 3 lungs. The Astartes were generated and created purely for the essence of war and are used in legions, 20 of them, each commanded by one of the Emperor's sons, to unite all of humanity across the stars.
And I didn't know any of this.
Now, must be said, these aren't, he didn't give birth to these kids. These are all born in a laboratory. They don't have a mother other than a glass test tube.
Yeah, their mother is the scientific mumbo jumbo that he shoved into a tank.
Oddly enough, did you know that they specifically say they're made in the Himalayas?
Yeah, I actually do know that.
I did not know that till yesterday. They actually are. They are actually created in the Himalayas.
Yeah, that's because where the Emperor's fucking palace is, which canonically can also be seen from the surface of Mars.
And the in where they mentioned the Himalayas, wasn't that in the second Horus Heresy book?
Yes, it was in False Gods.
I specifically remember them
Sorry about
saying
that.
like,
My
"You
work
don't
was
have a
trying to give me
mother."
a call.
I saw it. It was like, I have a question segment. Just go. I'll
Okay,
take it
so
later.
yeah. So general
I have a
infos.
question.
Okay, so yeah, first episode. We're talking about Horus, the first son of the Emperor, the favorite son. Also, the guy who ruins everything.
He did sort of kind of maybe make everything for everyone a little worse.
So yeah.
A little.
So yeah, Horus he's the first one that was found. I'm not sure if he's the first one that was created. I don't think that's said.
They don't give a canonical order for like
Okay, I didn't think
for the
so.
batch. It's just they're all sort of made at the same time. But
So yeah,
There's
he was the
actually
first one
one.
that was found. He became like the Emperor's favorite son because the Emperor apparently made 20 kids but needed to pick one that was the favorite. And they just proceeded to wage war from planet to planet, basically showing up like Genghis Khan saying, "Hey, do you want to believe in the Emperor? No. All right, death to you, sir."
yeah, and so at a certain point, Horus basically becomes the de facto emperor on the front lines. The emperor retreats to Terra to work on shit. The emperor retreats to Terra to work on his train set in the basement, and
It's more than a train set.
it's more than a train set. But
He's-
I would like to take the position that the emperor is really just like a below average dad,
That
and and so he goes home to work on his train set, and he basically leaves his kid in charge of his entire galactic expansion. And through this, the stresses of running an entire galactic expansion kind of creep in on Horus, and also the lack of love and direction from his father turn Horus into an evil dipshit who starts a galactic civil war with his own father.
I
well,
would just
yeah,
like to.
because like the whole thing for like going out this is like Horus and the Emperor, they were like side by side. Like the Emperor went, Horus went with him. And then the Emperor, and we don't mean like he goes off into this train set. That's not even like a good description. Like this is like an absent father. This is the guy who said, "I'm gonna go get milk," and then never came back. Like,
I would like to add that this all happened also like after all of the Primarchs have been discovered.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, they
yes,
find
that
all
is
20, and then they're doing this. And not all the Primarchs liked Horus. Like Lehman Russ and Angron were like really, really, really upset when he became.
Oh, so was the lion. The lion was also very
Was
upset
he?
that he became. Yeah,
That just
because the
proves he's
lion.
yeah.
That proves a lot of things about the lion. No, no, yeah, the lion was also upset because he believed he should have been the war master.
Yeah, but then you have people like Sanguinius who are like, yeah, Horus should be the War Master. But then you have people like Dorn who just like, whatever. I'm gonna.
Yeah, Dorn didn't really give a fuck.
Yeah, he just-
Fulgrim was okay with it.
Yeah, he
I
just
think the
didn't care.
funniest-
Fulgrim and Dorn were just like, yeah, whatever. He was the favorite son. Like,
That-
we're already over it, boys.
The funniest thing with all of this is that Sanguinius was like, yeah, you should be the War Master. And I think in this second book,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Horus specifically mentions they should have made Sanguinius War Master.
Yeah,
They're just
in
like-
what? So to sum up Horus's life real quick, so that we have sort of structure here. Horus begins his tenure as the War Master of the Luna Wolves fairly successfully until he runs into several different struggles that cause him heavy losses, including a sort of rival human empire called the Interrex, which are humans and aliens. Think like a Mass Effect style empire where humans and aliens kind of live together and live in harmony and try to have fun. And the Imperium of Man is incredibly xenophobic. So they're not cool with that. Basically, peace talks break down, and Horus loses a bunch of men, has to kill a bunch of humans. And through Horus, a lot of his ventures become far more violent, and they start having fewer and fewer peaceful resolutions with people. This leads Horus and his legion to become far more mystic, far more disenfranchised, far more disconnected from the values of the Imperium as a whole. And it actually ends up leading to Horus being on his deathbed and kind of questioning his role in the galaxy, his role in his legion, his role as a parent to his father. And then when he comes out of this deathbed-like coma, which he comes out of through some warp mysticism, magic space bullshit. He comes out super chaos infected and super evil,
Yeah.
and he basically wakes back up, kills everybody that would have been loyal to the emperor that is within his own legion. He does kind of an interior purge and begins his civil war with brothers that choose to also betray the emperor due to the emperor being an absolute shithead of a father, and the trust in him being able to lead the galaxy being questioned.
I feel like you're missing out a pretty strong piece to that. The person they lost to the Interrex, or the what was it called False Terra, was Sejanus, a pretty
Oh, the
important.
Interrex was later. So Janus
Okay,
was
okay,
first on the False
okay,
Terra. You're right. You are correct.
and
Please explain.
that's a pretty big part to it, because from what I've gathered, Horus and Sejanus were kind of close.
Yes, they were
And
very
once,
close.
yeah, and once he was on his deathbed, Horus, he saw visions of Sejanus, which was Erebus, I think. I suck at explaining this.
A
Well,
word bearers.
a person pretty much already corrupted by chaos, that
Yes.
was posing as Sejanus to kind of sway him into the, well, wrong, in citation marks, path.
Yeah, that isn't very important to notice. Serjanus died far early on. Erebus took over his. Serjanus was like Horus's Malcador, like his like right hand man, buddy,
The one
good
thing
guy.
I would do, because like I get conflicted about Horus a lot because he's supposed to be conflicted. It wasn't what you guys are kind of making is like that Horus did all this, like Horus just like got hurt, woke up, was like, I got hurt. But like there's also Logar, who you guys are forgetting about.
Oh
And
yeah,
Logar was already pissed off, and Logar set up like everything you guys are talking about was set up by Logar. Like Logar stole a Nurgle weapon, which is what caused the infection in the coma.
Oh
Logar
yeah.
set
Well, he's
up,
the reason that Erebus was there in the first
yeah,
place
set
to
up
kind of
all
talk to.
of this because
But it's
Logar, if I
not the
remember correctly,
Lorgar episode.
because Logar, if I remember correctly, he was well, you can't talk about Horus's fall without talking about,
Without talking about Lorgar. No, you're correct. I'm
because
just meaning.
Logar, along with Magnus and several other people, were kind of upset because like psychers are just a natural thing that exist in the 40k universe. Like people connected to this realm of hell, like that's just a thing that happens to every species across the universe. And the Emperor was just like, bro, you don't get to do it, in this kind of weird, like, you know, don't ask, don't tell policy of demons.
Yeah.
Basically.
And
Oh
so
my
all
god,
of
it
his
is don't
more,
ask, don't tell. It's
It is
literally
don't ask.
don't God. We knew this
That's
was bad in
terrible.
1985. Why did it live so long? We're not getting into politics on this podcast.
God damn it. All right. Anyway, so yes, so there's a bunch of people that are connected to well, the warp. We should, what the fuck. I feel like we have done a horrible disservice by
No,
not explaining what the fuck the warp is.
So the warp is literally hell. Hell is a place that you go and everyone's connected to it, and that's where psychic powers come from. That's where the Emperor gets his powers. That's where Sanguinius gets his powers. Like if we mention a psyker, everyone gets their powers from the warp. Even you, Space Wolf players, your rune priests are just psychers. Get over it. I'm throwing that out in episode 1, but no, that's basically
No magic.
Yeah.
No magic except
Yeah.
for the magic that we use that isn't magic. It's different, I swear.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that's how
fuck
they get their
magnets.
powers, and that's what these people are. Because one thing that causes like this whole like we talk about like this rise to chaos is that there are these 4 chaos gods, and basically they kind of are like, oh no, the Emperor is going to take over everything, and like the might of all of hell is like we're going to find a way into these 20 dudes somehow because they're about to take over the entire galaxy, and they basically do. Like that's how
Yeah, they
effective.
get in-
Like that's
yeah.
how effective Horus was as a commander. Was like, I think it's like over 90% of the Milky Way galaxy was owned by humanity at one point.
Yeah,
Like,
they really
it's-
just went and took everything.
Like that's how
It's
powerful
worth-
these Astartes were. But yeah, so more on Horus and his. Yeah, he
I
starts this
just want to
fall.
add to the
Oh,
warp thing.
mhm.
I just want to add to the warp thing. It's just a small thing, but the warp isn't also necessarily supposed to be this bad thing. It's
Yeah,
influenced by pretty much the physical world.
yeah.
Uh, for
The
example, there's
warp,
a lot of yeah.
The
Go
yeah.
warp
ahead.
is just a
No,
thing.
the warp is the metaphysical manifestation of all thoughts, unconscious and conscious, and all feelings within every intelligent being in the galaxy. So there is a sum total of everything in the warp. It's just really shit because the galaxy is constantly shit because everyone's trying to kill each other.
So you guys can imagine how bad it would be when these genetically altered superhumans that are
Super.
immortal, super strong, basically immune to pain, now move away from we want to help the basic human into we're going to start murdering people. Like,
And so, yeah, the actions feed into itself. The actions of the Astartes and the Emperor feed into the tumultuousness of the warp.
mhm. So yeah. So I think that's, and then like life and death of Horus, like just to kind of sum it up, Horus actually wins most of the heresy, winds up besieging Holy Terra for I think it's 3 months.
Yeah,
Uh
it's something like
Something
3 months.
like 3 months. He um gets into the Imperial Palace to go kill the Emperor. He
He
has a
fought a really cool red dude, and nothing happened.
yeah, he fought a really cool red dude for 3 days and tortured him for 3 days.
No, nothing happened.
Nothing happened. And then Horus eventually fights the Emperor. Now this is something I want to ask because we're going to move into theory crafting after this, and this is going to be that segue. So the Emperor and Horus fight. The Emperor doesn't want to kill his favorite son because, well, it's his favorite son. Because this story totally is not based off the Bible in any way, shape, or form at all. Zero zero connection. But
There's
Literally
no
not.
connection.
eventually, Horus beats down the
You're telling
Emperor.
me that Sanguinius isn't Jesus and the Sanguinor isn't the Holy Spirit? What are you talking about?
So eventually, Horus actually beats the Emperor down, rips one of his arms off, and cuts out one of his eyes. And basically, he's in there. And then an unknown entity that is definitely of the Imperium shows up, like, looks Horus in the face. Horus feels bad. Then the Emperor gets up, proceeds to kick the shit out of him, and then uses his psychic energy to not only kill Horus, but to remove his very essence from existence. So that way the Chaos Gods cannot reform him into a giant demon like he does the other 9 chaotic brothers.
And are we? Would this be moving into the theory crafting
So
section,
Yeah,
yeah,
or
this would be
this is
moving
moving
into
into
the
the theory
theory
crafting section. So
and I
my
would
first theory crafting thing is nobody really knows what this is, but because I like to think that this is just a basic member of the Imperium. Like I like to think it's
Oh, like
just
you
like a
want to think
member.
it's just like a dude?
Because people speculate like it's just a Militarum guy. Like it's not an Astartes, it's not anything that like this guy just showed up and like his love for the Emperor kind of beat back Horus. Or what I like to think is that he showed up and that Horus, he's been fighting Astartes and he's like, okay, these are my guys, I don't care about them. But Horus pre-heresy was really liked humanity, really supported them, really gave them the honor, basically the same as Astartes, kind of like Sanguinius and Vulcan do now. So I like to think that him seeing just a basic human and not another Astartes kind of drove back that love for humanity, and that's why Horus hesitated. That
I
somehow
like
Horus's love for humanity, because regardless of how xenophobic these people are, they do care about preserving humans as a thing. That's the Emperor's whole thing, is making humanity strong so they live forever. And yeah, what do you guys think about that?
That
I,
is a
I like
way
it.
more that's a way more poetic and thought out explanation than what I thought it was.
Yeah, I have another I have another one as well that is just the opposite, and I do prefer that one a lot more because as Jordan said, it's very poetic. it makes sense to me in some sort of way that like, oh, I've seen a billion Astartes, I've seen them die a billion times, and then
They're
he's just
meant for
confronted.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, is it okay if I just segue into the one I have that's completely
Yeah, yeah.
opposite?
Go into
Yeah,
your theory.
yeah. If it's a
Absolutely.
theory
Um,
craft of nobody has a different theory.
that is that when the Emperor and Horus clashed, that never took place. But instead, this is a horrible theory, but I like it. Sanguinius killed Horus in a what's it called, the rage that they get, the blood
The
rage or
red
something.
thirst,
The red
because
thirst.
there's no
Yeah,
black
and he
rage at
goes.
that point.
There's no
Yeah,
black rage yet.
Yeah.
in that case, he gets completely insane. Basically, kills Horus in that, and in that kind of red thirst, the Emperor goes in and sees Sanguinius there, and Sanguinius pretty much. I'm not doing this theory justice by being horrible at explaining, but
No,
Sanguinius pretty much launches at the Emperor, and with great hesitation, because the Emperor knows that Sanguinius isn't driven to chaos. He had to kill Sanguinius as well. It's my
Okay.
guess because I just I don't know. It doesn't strike me well that Sanguinius would be defeated by Horus relatively easily.
Well, mine. So, haha. This is my theory time because it plays off of that.
Oh.
So mine is I think Sanguinius came back. So, all right. Here's my theory. Sanguinius is now dead, i.e., the potential for the Sanguinor now exists. Sanguinius and Horus were more or less friends. I feel like Sanguinius through the warp, through the Sanguinor, post his death just before that, was able to show himself more or less to his brother as he was fighting the Emperor. And Horus had this moment of like, oh fuck, this is my dad. That's my dead brother. Oh shit. Like he had this like a moment of realization for that.
That's cool. I like that one more. We go with that one.
Yeah, see,
So-
I just like the original theory of why Sanguinius did what he did, because Sanguinius, we all know he had the power of foresight, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, in the story at least, he foresees his own death, sees that he's going to die out there. He sees that he's going to be killed, but he knows that the Emperor can't get to Horus in time. So he literally like throws himself at Horus's feet and throws the fight because he knows that he can't beat Horus. Because Horus, I'm sorry, Jordan, Horus is a better fighter than Sanguinius. Sanguinius
Stop.
was not the best
Stop.
fighter.
Stop.
You know, Sanguinius is my boy. He's my boy.
Yeah.
But he was not the best fighter. I even Lehman Russ and Leon Johnson were better fighters than Sanguinius. However, they were not better human beings.
I know.
They were not better.
Sanguinius inherited the leadership quality from
Yeah.
the Emperor. He didn't inherit the fighting quality.
Yes. Sanguinius was kind. He was very charismatic. You know, but he was
smart.
not. He was not
He could
automatically.
literally see into the future.
Yeah, the best fighters, oddly enough, all wound up in chaos. Sans Rugal Dorn.
Oh no, Stan's Vulcan too.
Well, Vulcan. Never mind. Vulcan episode coming next time.
I feel like wherever like my theory just cracked is that Sanguinius wasn't a better fighter than Horus, and that's mostly where the theory that I didn't come up with it obviously, but that where that theory cracks is that, well, okay, if Sanguinius will be able to kill Horus,
I also don't.
that
I
easily,
also
yeah.
don't like. I also don't like that theory because if the Emperor couldn't kill Horus in the canonical story, I don't think he could kill Sanguinius either. I don't think he could kill any of his sons.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
even after what Magnus did, which we'll talk about in the Magnus episode.
In this episode,
Even
Magnus
after
did nothing
that,
wrong.
Even after that, the Emperor didn't say kill Magnus. He said beat Magnus to a pulp, not kill.
Yeah, not kill.
He didn't actually say to kill him. He couldn't kill one of the Primarchs, right? And this goes to show, and we go to show because we know none of the Chaos Primarchs except for Angron have died, and Angron died way after the Horus Heresy.
Well, that's the thing about like him not wanting to kill. That's where the only part in that theory that made some sort of sense to me was the fact that say Sanguinius manages to kill Horus somehow, and the Emperor sees that and sees Sanguinius is insane, he would obviously hesitate, right? Like he would not want to attack his son, which is why Sanguinius pretty much beat the Emperor to a, well, whatever he is now. But that, as I said, that theory cracks when you just know the fact that Horus is a better fighter than Sanguinius, and Sanguinius wouldn't be able to beat Horus
Yeah,
in that type of way.
Horus was not only the best leader among the Primarchs, I'm pretty sure he was, because he was the best assault person. They actually say it expressly in the book.
Yeah, the Luna Wolves are the best at siege crafting.
Yeah, Horus. Yeah, I just read
Fuck
the
you,
book last night.
Perturabo.
Like
Perturabo.
Horus.
No, fuck Perturabo.
No, Horus and the Luna Wolves. They are the best, like, at attacking a thing, and the Imperial Fist are the best at defending a thing. Where Horus makes a joke to Dorn saying, "Hey, if I attacked you, the fight would that's just it. It's the unstoppable wall. The unstoppable object meets the unmovable object."
Well, the fucking beautiful thing about that, God, I love this. I need to talk about like the overarching writing in Warhammer, because that's a beautiful foreshadowing joke. Because the whole thing is the war between humanity and chaos, like due to Horus's actions, it plunges the galaxy into millennia of war. And so Horus did indeed throw himself at Terra, which was reinforced by Dorn, and they have been fighting for 10,000 years.
But no, it wasn't. But wait a minute. I have a theory crap that I'm just spawning in my head. So Dorn didn't make it to Terra. That's like one of his problems, like that he had in life. What would have happened? Could Horus have taken Terra had Dorn managed to make it there in time?
Oh, if Dorn had been there,
if the king of I'm gonna hold the line, the Cadian version of an Astartes showed up.
My boy.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't there. It was just he had reinforced Terra, but he himself was not there.
But the Imperial Fists also weren't there. Like his
that
legion.
is true.
But what if that? So my question is, in this theory crafting, I don't think he could have gotten in. I think
you don't think Horus would have gotten in?
I don't think. I mean, because you have to remember, it's like the Blood Angels are also good at holding a line. Sanguinius himself held a door of the Imperial Palace by himself against all the chaos stuff for 3 days with no Titan
fucking
support.
baller. God damn. All right.
So
anyway.
if the Blood Angels, who are not siege masters, like, could Horus have broken through? Like, would there still be war on Terra 10,000 years later?
I think they would have burned each other out, right?
But here's the thing: you mentioned like.
Well, no. Wait a second. Wait. Whoa. Fuck. No. Oh my God. I think I've totally switched everything. Cask is 100% right, because if Dorn had been there, and he had not been able to keep, like, they wouldn't have burned each other out, because Dorn has the fucking Emperor on his side. So they would have just, oh my God. Yeah, no, Dorn. Wow. Hey, Dorn.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
I think it's all. Wait a minute. Keep telling me
Dorn,
how awesome Dorn is.
Hold on. I'm gonna give props to Dorn. If Dorn had been there, follow me on this one. Tell me if you guys think this is right as a theory crafting. Dorn's there. Dorn is able to hold the line for long enough for the Emperor to finish the webway gates. Now there's infinite reinforcements. Horus loses.
Yeah, no, Horus would have lost.
Damn it, Dorn, you fucked everything.
If Dorn had been there,
hey,
yeah, hey, whoa,
slow it down. We're not gonna talk shit about Dorn now. Wait for that episode.
If Dorn had been there, Sanguinius would be alive, and the world wouldn't be in galactic hell civil war for millennia to come. Dorn was just too fucking slow.
And this will be for another episode, and what we've all learned is that Leon Johnson's a bitch. Now.
Yeah, notice how in all of these important roles, we've mentioned Sanguinius, we've mentioned Horus, nobody ever said dick about that fucking green forest knight.
But no, like, another thing that I think would have been really helpful, like, that could have stopped Horus, was like the salamanders were fucked. Like, they could,
post Istvan,
they were done. So like it's like if more legions, because the chaos they like neutered they neutered the Raven Guard, they neutered the salamanders.
They neutered the Iron Hands pretty bad.
So like yeah, I mean, so I think the only way that this turns out any differently, the only way that like Horus in his personal life turn out any other is if Dorn gets there.
Yeah, if Dorn gets there, I'll tell you what, Knock, I'll give that one to you in the Imperial Fist. If Dorn's there, that fight goes different.
Yeah.
I would just like to do something real quick to just keep the podcast kind of centered around Horus and the Lunar Wolves.
Of course.
Another thing that's kind of, I don't know, I like this theory. I brought that up, I think, before the show. I'm not sure if it was on the show. I am very forgetful. But the fact that Horus, um, in some documentations, have had a weird Chthonian, or is it Chthоnia he's from? His accent, pretty much his accent was a little bit iffy at times.
Yeah, he could alternate his accent. He put on the accent. It wasn't like his natural.
Yeah, that
which was a big part into a lot of people making a theory of he didn't go to Chthоnia. He never got sent anywhere. He was just the Emperor's baby.
So I mean, I can see that. I honestly can.
Yeah. Well,
And
also
once
Horus
they got to Chthоnia, and Chthоnia had a pretty decent what's it called, a pool of soldiers where you could make into Astartes, and they were just like, oh yeah, but Horus is from here. You guys are just like him, and if we just shove up some DNA in you, you could be just like him even more.
And
they kind of just put that on.
It definitely seems like an Imperial thing to do.
That would be an Imperial thing to do, because isn't Horus the only one that has memories of being a child with the Emperor? Because Horus talks about like looking up at the stars with the Emperor when he's like young.
Because like all of the constellations and stuff. Yeah, I remember that.
All of the other Primarchs are found when they're like grown ass adults. Horus is like, dude, when I was a teenager, my dad and I went stargazing.
It could also just be because Horus because like there's a long time. I think there's like almost 50 years between the finding of Horus and whoever the next. Like Horus and the Emperor are like the only people for a long time.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
But that also could be other things.
So the one that they found afterwards was Lehman Russ.
Lehman was number 2.
There's 50 years between Horus and Lehman Russ, is what you're saying. That makes sense, but the thing that still kind of gets me to think that he was never kind of removed from Terra and sent to Chthоnia was just for the sheer fact that if you're from a place, even you can just listen to me speak. I'm from Sweden. You can tell I'm from Sweden. I'm not putting on an accent to be more Swedish. I could, but it would sound ridiculous. And if you're raised on a planet or raised anywhere, it's almost hard to avoid an accent. And Horus having to almost put on an accent at times is the main thing that's driving me to think that maybe they kind of lied for the Chthonians so that they would be like, oh yeah, we're proud Luna Wolves, sons of Horus. We have his DNA. He was born on Chthоnia. He's a brave warrior of Chthоnia. While in all reality, he's just a scam, pretty much.
Yeah, I could definitely
say I could see that. I will say it is important to bring up that a lot of the times he drops from Imperial High Gothic to the Chthonian, what is described as like kind of like the blue collar Chthonian accent. I don't know how to say the planet's name. Somebody smarter than me does. But the like he uses it to like have camaraderie with his troops. Now I that could very well mean that he obviously didn't he wasn't born on Chthоnia, whatever the hell, because the fact that he speaks in like the low kind of rural tones of the planet would that sits wrong with me, because like all of the other Primarchs except for Angron, who I'm so sad about, they all kind of rose to prominence on their planet. So why would he speak in like the lower ruralness unless it was to kind of pull on those heartstrings of like, yeah, he is one of our guys. Like he's a normal dude from Chthоnia. Totally.
Yeah, it just but he's
well,
not.
He did rise to prominence, but Chthоnia is like gang. I'm reading here on the wiki. Chthоnia is like a gang world. So
But
I thought it
that's
was
the
a
thing.
mining world.
well,
I feel like
I think it's both. But
Oh, okay.
I feel like what Horus is doing is pretty much like a billionaire going to a regular car meet. Like, I'm just like you guys. I have car, but I also have 12 other cars. But I'm just like you. Look, I speak like you, right?
Oh,
And they're
he's
kind of
so
like,
you're saying he's like the equivalent of that one Drake tweet that's like, I just got a Grammy, but I gotta wait in line at
yeah,
KFC like everyone else.
yeah. He just got the Primarch status, but he still gotta wait in line to go to the
I
bathroom
mean,
like everyone else.
Horus. I mean, that kind of plays into Horus's kind of personality because he did like to avoid confrontation. Like
Yeah, when
he
possible.
always sent an ultimatum pre him becoming a psychopath. But when he was a normal Primarch, he did always send things kind of like a Genghis Khan thing, where it's like, "Hey, if you
Yeah.
just say you're going to worship the Emperor, I won't send this death ball of Astartes down to kill you."
And that is what happened at the beginning with the whole Ser'Janus thing. He sent Ser'Janus as part of that envoy,
And they
and
killed him.
Ser'Janus and they killed him, and then and that was kind of the beginning of Horus's spiral.
Horus also had a just worth mentioning. He had a close group of captains that
Yeah,
were
the
kind of
Mournival.
the Mournival, which were kind of the advisors.
Yeah, they were his
Um,
advisors.
and I'm pretty sure I think Loken was not Chthonian, or some of them were not Chthonian.
Loken was. I think it was. No, I think all four of them were Chthonian.
Okay,
There,
then it might be just me misremembering some things, but there are cases of when when the heresy took root, when a lot of people were like, "Oh, they're not even Chthonian. They're born on Terra. They don't know anything about."
oh yeah, the
And they were
ostrich.
kind of
Yeah,
yeah, and that just makes me think that Horus kind of built this bond, like, yeah, we Chthonians, like us Chthonians. It's a stronger bond in the faction as like Chthonians.
I mean, I
And
can see
they're
that with the Emperor
yeah,
trying to
which kind
like,
of
because you
yeah,
have to
which plays
build
into
your
the
army
fact that he did the
somewhere.
same thing.
yeah. If you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
distance yourself from Terra, where the Emperor is from, it's easier to go attack him.
Yeah, and that's also like a lot of the reasons why so many factions joined Horus were also their personal grudges. But just if I focus on the Luna Wolves alone, the Luna Wolves had strong bonds with well, for example, the Emperor's children and
Yep.
the World Eaters,
Yeah.
Nathaniel Garrow. But they had
No, that's
more
the Death Guard. That's the Death Guard.
Death Guard. Yeah, Death Guard. And no, what was the name? There's a dude that was really close to them that was the World Eater.
World Eater.
Either way, they had this kind of close bond that they didn't really have with other factions. The only really other faction they had was kind of the what do they call Iron Hands.
Well, no, the Iron Hands and Fulgrim were specifically close. The Iron Hands and the Emperor's children, but the Iron Hands were not in turn close with the Luna Wolves.
Yeah, but that's what I meant. Like they have sort of like I know someone who knows someone kind of
Yeah.
contact with them. Um, but what I just want to, as I said, this is mostly about the Luna Wolves. So I'm trying to keep it to Luna Wolves.
Right.
Is that they had these lodges that as soon as the first three books follows Garville Loken mostly. And as soon as Loken rose to a captain, they kind of introduced him to these lodges where you could talk about like your feelings. It's just in general, in my opinion, a pretty good idea.
It
Which
was
ended up
fraternity
not being.
bro type shit.
Yeah, it turned out not to be the case. And
Because when you
the
have
people,
dissent, that's when things like this happen.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's when
and
the Emperor
when the
wanted
people
everyone like,
who,
no, just listen to me.
yeah,
I've been around a while. I know how this is gonna go down.
and the people that turned away from the lodges, such as
Loken.
Garvey Loken and Torgadan, Tariq
Yeah,
from
Tariq Torgadon.
I hate that pronunciation, but yeah, he they kind of turned away from that because it's like, oh well, that's not really our ideals. They were the ones that got sent down to a pretty big part of the history of the Luna Wolves, which is Istvan 3. Pretty much all of the chapters, all of the companies that were under Loken and Torgadan, and a couple others that they didn't really trust with the lodges were sent down to a planet where they were tasked on a mission to take down a rogue governor or something.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah, and after that, what pretty much happened is that there's a lot more detail to it, but the companies who still were on the ship that weren't sent down to Istvan 3 sent down a nuke on top of them and, well, attempted to kill all of them, which they didn't quite succeed with at first. Took a couple of tries until they did, leaving only one person to survive, which was actually Garville Loken. Other than that, I just wanted to add that because that's also a pretty big part to why
yeah,
the
that
Luna
is
Wolves turned into
the Sons of Horus.
yeah, and they
And that
were
was
the Sons
also
of
the
Horus back then, but the loyalists who were on the planets, the ones that got nuked and realized that they were betrayed, um, threw their name Sons of Horus away and switched it
yeah.
out to Luna Wolves again.
Yeah, and it is important to note that that is the first actual violent act and declaration of the civil war that Horus starts. That is the first raising a hand against the Imperium moment.
But to keep this a little bit on the road here, if I just this is confusing, but if I rewind back to when we talked about the Siege of Terra, um, there's a couple of things that
Well,
were on my mind that I thought either we take
so yeah, let's move
before.
on to our next segment then. Sounds
Yeah,
like
for
it's
Yeah,
questions, this sounds like it
yeah.
might be
So
that.
this is our we decided a segment here since Knock is kind of new 40k and me and Jordan are much more versed in it. We decided to have a thing where Knock just asks questions and me and Jordan will try to answer. Kind of be similar to Theorycraft, but gonna be Knock in charge this time. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Knock.
my
Ask us your questions.
my general just thing I want to add to this is that these questions might be insane because as I said, I'm not super well versed in the 40k universe, so they might be
Just
completely
remember,
stupid or
Knock.
they might be fun.
A group of orcs defeated a regiment of Imperial Guard by holding their hands to their chests, standing 2 by 2, going, I'm a tank, I'm a tank, I'm a tank, I'm a tank, I'm a tank. That is
God, I
canonical,
can't.
by the
love
way. That
that.
is not, I'm not making this up. That is a
No, I
canonical
know.
way that happened.
The I'm a tank, I'm a tank. I've told that to like 6 people that don't know anything about 40k. They've all loved it.
I'm a tank. I'm a tank. Okay, well, either way, my first question was about the Siege of Terra.
Mhm.
Pretty much every ship, I think, is geared up with some sort of exterminatus, basically a weapon that can destroy an entire planet, which most of the time you don't want to use. Um, which means that Horus flagship, one of the, I think it was one of the biggest ships besides, the Phalanx. Uh, why must have had that, but why didn't he just nuke Terra?
Well, at Casca, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong on this. Weren't the exterminatuses developed post heresy? Like, weren't virus bombs like the earlier version of the exterminatus?
Yeah, but they obviously had the virus bombs because that's what they did with Istvan 3.
I
Yes, that's what I'm.
am,
Yeah,
I
well, that's true.
am,
Oh, you're asking about Terra.
Terra, yes.
Yeah, you're asking why didn't they nuke Terra? Silly me. Then I
oh,
do have a better answer for that, but
that
Casca, you
is,
can go
yeah,
ahead.
that's an easy one. You have to remember is that Horus is not viewing himself as an evil person when he's doing this. In Horus's brain, Horus is the good guy. Horus is the savior coming to save the world. And he doesn't want, even in his chaos form, he doesn't want to kill people. He's not Adolf Hitler and Stalin that are saying, hey, I'm going to save the world by killing all the people, all the innocent people. He thinks he's trying to save people. So if he just nukes Terra, he
He'll
kills
kill
all of
more
his
people.
Primarchs. He like his target is I want to kill the Emperor. He wants to convert Sanguinius and all the other Primarchs to Chaos because they think that that's going to be the best way. He wants to make all the humans Chaos because that's how he thinks he's going to save humanity. In Horus's brain, the one and only evil thing that exists that needs to be removed is the Emperor.
And
Yeah.
for that reason, nuking that planet wouldn't be the smartest way to go
Yeah,
about
because
it.
he would kill all of the people that he thinks he's trying to save.
But Kevin says, what were the question that you thought I would ask then in that case, Jordan? Because you said you had an answer for that too.
I thought you were asking why didn't they use specifically the Exterminatus on Istvan 3? I just
Oh,
I completely misunderstood your question. That's all on me.
it's all good. I mean, yeah. The main reason was I wanted to ask was just he could have just went to Terra and said bye bye and just bombed it, which he obviously didn't. Which also brings me to another
Oh,
question on
here's
top of
another.
that.
Here's actually a reason as to why they couldn't use Exterminatus. So I'm reading here through Wikis and Reddits. So basically, you would have to guarantee enough payload would hit the planet. As apparently there's a way to shield, deflect, and blow up the Exterminatus before it actually hits. So considering that Terra had 2 Emperor class Titans, and to let you know, Knock,
God, Emperor class Titans.
I want you to think in your head that little section of Europe where Sweden and Norway are, right?
Okay, yeah.
That entire area is the size of 1 Imperial Titan.
What the fuck?
Like
Yeah,
Imperial Titans
one
are
Imperator Titan.
like
That is huge.
in the lore, there's an Imperial Titan that sits in America that is just the state of Washington.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
Imperator Titans are unbelievably massive things.
Yeah.
Like
And there's 3 of them on Earth, and then you have all the other defenses. Plus, you have an Imperial Navy. So even if he may have thought to do it, and we're all just being nice to Horus, they're like,
But
"Oh,
he
yeah, we're
just
gonna nuke the
couldn't.
planet." No, we have a note button. We
That
have 3
actually
giant note buttons.
that explains a lot more because my follow-up question was to be why Abaddon doesn't give a fuck. Why didn't he nuke Terra? But now I understand. It's pretty much impossible at that point.
Yeah.
They had a
I
lot because all the people were there, but yeah, it would have been impossible just to nuke Terra. And
Fun
only
fact.
Abaddon, because I don't even think Angron would have wanted to just like nuke everybody.
No,
That's funny.
Angron wants to go down onto the ground and throw hands with you face to face. He does not want to nuke you from the sky.
Which is why he's a
Fun
good boy.
What I
fun
love
fact
Angron.
about
Okay, but back onto Horus
fun
and the Lunar.
fun fact about Abaddon, by the way. He was one of the biggest space marines.
Yeah, he's
Like
Oh, yeah.
huge.
top
He's like
big,
he's
Yeah,
like
he's
he is
huge.
huge.
yeah. Most of them are 9 feet tall. I think he's 12.
Yeah, he is roughly the size of a Primarch. Like,
That brings me to another question regarding his size. Because I've read somewhere that the kind of what's called main apothecary of the Emperor's Children, the dude who did
oh,
all the
Fabius
augmented.
Bile.
Yeah, he made a clone of Horus.
He did make a
Fir-
clone of Horus.
First of all, how the fuck did he manage to make a clone of Horus? Where did he
It
get that
didn't
material?
last that long. So
No, I'm aware, but like, did he gather Horus DNA somehow? Did Horus allow that, or how did that all transpire? Just do you guys know?
He probably,
First of all.
knowing Fabius Bio, no, there's no way he asked permission.
Oh yeah, there's
Okay.
no way he has permission.
And secondly, it wouldn't be that hard because remember, Knock, every space marine that is not the Primarch is in a way a clone of Primarch. Like down to
They all have the DNA.
like down
Right.
to Vulcan has like black skin, like charred black skin. Regardless of your skin color, if you get salamander gene seed, your skin becomes black. Like as in like permanent marker black, which is what they all look
Oh.
like. So like
Oh,
whatever
so
whatever
that's why-
flaws the Primarch has, you will go down in there. That's another reason where like
Why all the Blood Angels are fucking psycho.
well, that's not yeah, and also why people who don't have psychic powers going into the Blood Angels will get them because they
Yeah.
get stuck with the gene seed of a Psyker Primarch, which is why
Yeah.
there's more Psychers in the Blood Angels than anywhere fucking else.
It's what, every 1 in 4, if I'm correct, or some shit like that.
It's ridiculous.
Then I also have another question about like Abaddon, because I know Abaddon really favored Horus, like once the entire like Istvan stuff happened and all that stuff. He really favored Horus as a person. He really liked Horus. Why would he then just pull up to the Emperor's Children and said, "Oh, I saw you were making a clone of my dad. Die." Like, why would he? What's the reasoning behind that? I mean, he gains obviously he gains an upper hand towards Terra and the loyalists if he has another Horus.
Because probably knowing Abaddon and his I want to be the biggest powerfulness, he probably knows it's not going to be Horus himself, and now Abaddon's like, oh hey, they're not just Astartes. We now have an army of Primarchs. We have an army of Astartes to Astartes. So
So he's more of a power trip type.
Yeah, it's more
Abaddon's
of a
whole
I
thing
have
is-
to be the best.
Abaddon's whole
Yeah.
thing is you remember when Horus is defeated and Abaddon finds out, he doesn't cry, he doesn't mourn, he just says Horus apparently was a weak ass bitch and he wasn't worth my time and energy, and then just leaves.
Yeah.
Although I know Abaddon has some sort of still sense, because whenever he fought, this is way in the future, but whenever he fought the Grey Knight, that was like really good Sigismund. When he fought Sigismund, he was terrified, and then I mean he won, but he was like, this is scary, and then he just severed Sigismund in half. But I remember him having respect for Sigismund as a warrior.
Oh yeah, he'll respect you as a warrior. He's just gonna want to beat you, and if he can like make it so that he is the most powerful, he will.
Yeah. And you have to remember is that all the Luna Wolves didn't fall to a single chaos god, they are chaos undivided. So they're still gonna have that we are we are honorable from the Corn side of chaos.
Is that why the Emperor's Children and Luna Wolves and all of those like factions are kind of not like they're allies, but they're not like
They're not close.
yeah, they're not close.
Well, like the
Yeah,
Emperor's children fell to Slanesh.
the
Very
other
hardcore.
the other motherfucking chaos undivided legions are more likely to hang out with other chaos undivided legions than like
Which
the
ones are them?
singular
Which is
one.
most of the legions. Very few of the
Yeah.
legions fell.
Only
to a single.
4 of, in fact.
It's like I think it's only the Emperor's Children and the World. The only ones I can name are the Emperor's Children and the World Eaters and the Thousand Sons.
Sons and the Death Guard.
The Death Guard.
The
Those are
Death
the only ones
Guard
that
were
fell
notable,
to
yeah.
that fell to a specific Chaos God, because it's kind of detrimental, to be honest, to fall to
Yeah.
a single Chaos God, because you're limiting your power and you're limiting your allies.
And the last question I have is I haven't read so much like into Horus and Fulgrim, like their relationship, but I
Right.
know once the end of book 3, no, the end of Fulgrim's book actually, Fulgrim gets possessed by this greater demon of Slanesh, and the demon speaks with Horus and says like, "Hey, your brother dead, Lamau," and Horus kind of like, "I'm gonna beat the fucking shit out you," and the demon says, "You can try." And I remember Horus thinking or putting on his mind that I'm going to help Fulgrim. Does he ever do that? Does he ever attempt to get Fulgrim out of the situation he is in?
He
Like,
doesn't
does
really
Horus keep his resolve?
he doesn't really have the time, because that's on Istvan 5 prepping to go to Earth, or to Terra, my bad. So
Same thing.
yeah, same thing. He never really has the time to attempt to help Fulgrim out of this like demon possession thing, because they all go to Earth, and then all the Earth shit or Terra, and all the Terra shit happens, and Horus ends up in a fucking hole, and so he can't really. There's never really any time in between there for him to help Fulgrim.
I see. That being said, it is nearing the 1 hour mark.
And do you
Is there
have any more
anything
questions about Horus?
I do have one.
Oh,
Go
okay, so
ahead.
what is your final
We
question?
can go over an hour. The hour's
Yeah.
we're shooting for an hour. It's not a
We can also
Okay.
soft edit things, cut out pauses, shit like that.
Oh, I'm gonna definitely we're probably in the edited version that most people would be listening to this. We're probably in like 45 minutes because there's a lot of things in like before I start recording. But my question I have about Horus
Right.
that always kind of bugged me in a way. He seems like the type to always how to explain this in a way that makes sense. Once he was in his fever dream, he met Sejanus, which was Erebus. I think Magnus was in his dream, or what?
Yes.
And he was like, "Hey, that bitch is lying. Take a look." And then
Yeah.
his kind of the skies fell.
This is where this what you're talking about is kind of where the fucking Magnus did nothing wrong meme starts to stem
But
from.
that's where I'm getting at. This is not a Magnus episode, so I'm not going to ask that question now. I still have a question about this. I'll remember that. But Horus saw his brother say, "Hey, this is fucking bullshit. This dude's an idiot. He's trying to convince you to do something stupid." And he, for some reason, he still said, "I'm gonna do something stupid."
Oh,
I never understood what part of Horus ignited to just
that
throw everything away.
that is because Horus has a god complex. It's just like when you interview people in this real world. It's the prime example is the lead singer of Five Finger Death Punch who admitted to this.
Oh yeah,
Horus, his whole life was said, "You're the best. You're right. You're the god." Sanguinius is like, "Hey, you're the best. You're the right. You're the god." The Emperor said that. All the people around us said it. So you're told your whole life, "You're right. You're the king. You're the god," and you make your right decisions most of the time. And then finally, when someone says, "Hey, you might be making the right decision," you're like, "No, I'm not. I'm God. I'm the best. Screw you."
oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay, I know why the lion doesn't like Horus so much now, because in the beginning of
The lion
Descent
has
of
no room
Angels
to talk
book,
because he's basically the same human being. But
I just want to add, in the beginning of the Descent of Angels book, there's a really good speech that I enjoyed. That was something along the lines of, "If you put a man on a pedestal, he will think that he's above the average man." Um, that speech kind of twists into like, "Oh, I see you guys today, and I know that I'm not an average." Yeah, that kind of
regardless
stuff.
of how Horus tries to do that, because he definitely tries not to raise himself on a pedestal, he is
He
raised
does.
up on a pedestal by other people. And even if you try to combat that, it will affect you.
Yeah, and
And
then
that,
once you also start having demons fuck with your brain and perception, that also typically makes it a little
Yeah.
harder.
And let's give Horus some credit, Knock. And remember, is like when people go through the warp, when normal Astartes go through the warp of every chapter, a normal Astartes might fall to chaos. And that's just chaos not caring. They're just whipping around,
Just
not caring.
existing.
With Horus, it's all four of the major chaos gods going, "Get this guy, get him." So you have Tzeentch, Slanesh, Khorne, and Nurgle all jointly going, "I want this dude to fall." Like, you're not
Yeah.
stopping that. Like, regardless of
yeah.
who you are, unless you're the Emperor, you're not going to stop
Unless
that.
you're Lil Nas, you're not stopping that.
Little Nas,
Unless you're
Little
Mario
Nas
Gina.
is a salamander for the rest of my life for that.
Dude, Lil Nas is amazing. Dude, oh my god, Lil Nas is the only one that could stop Slanesh. Lil Nas would take Slanesh's place.
All
God,
right.
what a hero.
I
I
feel
think
like
it's
that's probably the last question I have
all
regarding
right.
that, regarding
So,
Horus.
so closing thoughts for me. Just kind of wrap everything up. Closing thoughts. I like Horus pre-heresy. He really does what I like in Primarchs. I like Horus pre-heresy for the same reasons I like Sanguinius. They're all about helping humanity. He gives people praise. Just like Reuben Goldman, he says, "No, Astartes are just different, but people, normal human beings, are the heart, the bread and butter, Imperium, and I'm not really that special." But unfortunately, him being raised to War Master was his ultimate downfall because it gave him the god complex of being the favorite son. And also, the one knock to him is like, "Man, you got to get over your daddy issues. I know your dad sucks, but like, it's no reason to cause a genocide."
Yeah, my closing thoughts are very similar. I think Horus is a phenomenal tragic villain where he is a good person and a likable individual in the first half, and then it is a series of events that could be preventable, but through bad circumstance, through manipulation by literal demon deities, and through frankly bad parenting. Uh, he sadly ends up in a place you don't want him to end up, and it makes you feel bad for him. Not like you think that he's necessarily right in his cause, but you feel bad for the like emotional distress and trauma he has survived to get to this point.
Yeah, and closing thoughts for me is pretty similar to you guys. I listened to the books, which is why I say I listen. I didn't read them. I listened to an audiobook.
Same.
And during the entire first and second book, I really liked Horus. I enjoy this character, his way of taking the leadership role of the Luna Wolves. He was sort of humble, especially in the interacts when they were fighting together. So overall, my general view of him is positive until these decisions and these things happened to him that drove him towards a bad place. And I feel like he's just a good guy in a bad situation.
All right, so interesting question. Scale of 1 to 10. Where do you rate Horus as a character? Not necessarily good or evil, just as an enjoyable character that you like in fiction. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being, oh my god, I love this character. 1 being Lionel Johnson. Where would you where would
Okay.
where
Lionel Johnson in your eyes here, okay? I
Okay.
like
Oh
him
God, I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready. I should have seen
One-
that coming, but I wasn't ready for that.
1 being where would you personally rate Horus?
I feel like Casca should do this first. He's the one with the
I give him a 6.5 because like he's not that like he's cool and he's kind of sympathetic, but like he's also bland. He's also got that Primarch problem of just like I am single-minded, and there's not a lot of. The problem is with the Astartes in general is they're a little bit bland at times. Horus is nice, but you know, he has some interesting falls, but none of his like falls and rises are due directly to him. I give him a 6.5 out of 10.
yeah.
What about you, Knock?
I'd place him at around a. The thing is, I have my placement is going to be different than both of you because, as I said, I have not known much of Horus post heresy. So my general score of him would be a 7 because of his. You can really tell the charismatic trait he got from his father, and you can really tell all of the complications that drove him to his decisions. And these small nuances. Is it Dan Abnett? It's Dan Abnett, right? That wrote
Yes,
the
Dan
books.
Abnett.
The
Dan
small-
Abnett wrote the first one, Horus Rising.
Yeah, well, that's the one I'm talking about. The small nuances that Dan Abnett placed in these books. That it really lit something in me to find this character portrayed as well clearly as he is for me. My 7.
Okay. What about
I'm
you,
gonna
Jordan?
I'm gonna agree with Knock. I'm gonna go at a solid 7. I think where he does have the kind of Primarch blandness of like I'm a god, ergo just the shit I do is great. I think he is one of the better Primarchs that wears that concept because he is so charismatic in pre-heresy. So he becomes an incredibly likable individual, somebody you feel that relates to the people around him, which I think makes the tragedy of him falling based on his previous relationships to all of these different people a lot more saddening. And I think that kind of differentiation makes the emotional roller coaster of watching Horus fall a lot greater. And I think that puts it a little over into the better section of a character for me. And so I'm gonna give him a 7 with Knock.
Okay, so we're all pretty much in agreement. It's a little bit less in my eyes than your guys is. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the first episode of Librarius. Find a unedited version on my YouTube at Cascaboom. I don't actually have a link, so just you also can find an edited version on Spotify, which we don't have a time frame out, but Knock will be working on that. Yeah, so
There will be a clean version on Spotify.
Yeah, so it'll be a clean version of Spotify. And yeah, so my name is Cascaboom. Find me on Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter at the same handle. Yeah.
I well, I have a horrible way of presenting myself because I don't have anything that I'm usually present on. But I'd say you could mostly find me, Knockout, that is, on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/knockoutxed, the letter X, the letter E, the letter D. Pretty simple. And you can also find my music on Spotify because I do I play in a band which is called Pythagora, just like Pythagoras theorem, but just Pythagora.
And then I guess for me, my name is Jordan Kelby. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Jordan Kelby, JordanKelby. I stream 5 days a week. I tweet sometimes, and I Instagram even less.
And just a
Same.
quick preview for next time, which will either be in 2 weeks or 2 months. We'll announce that on our respective social medias. But next week, I found many different lists, but they all seem to agree. We're going to be talking about the good old the wolf, Lehman Russ, the Space
Oh,
Wolves.
yeah.
The Lehman of the
Preview
West
from
Side.
me. I like the Space Wolves. I think they're cool.
I also like the Space Wolves. I think this will
Norse-
be a more positive.
Norse mythology is cool.
Preview from me. Please stop associating the Space Wolves with bad political ideologies.
We'll get into that on the episode.
We'll get into that.
That's
but I
gonna
agree.
be
I
that's gonna be a
fully
tight
agree.
30 on the problems of the Space Wolves in the United States of America. All right.
Oh God.
We love you, everybody. See you next time.
Have a great
Bye.
day.